Hello, and welcome to Whispers of the Past, your cozy corner for history told softly, where the dusty pages of time come alive like a gentle lullaby. Before we begin today's journey, if you enjoy drifting off to tales from centuries gone by, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more stories wrapped in quiet mystery, just for you. Have you ever wondered what life truly felt like behind the cold, stone walls of a medieval manor? Beyond the gilded halls and heavy tapestries, what whispers echoed through the corridors before dawn? Today, I'll take you into the world of Edric, a man in his mid-30s, entrusted with the monumental task of planning grand banquets for nobles and kings alike. His days are filled with subtle tension, secrets, and the delicate dance between power and pleasure. Some might say, these lavish feasts were merely indulgent displays of wealth, but others believe they were intricate performances of politics, where every gesture, every chair, and every bite carried a message. So I ask you gently, how often do we overlook the silent forces shaping history? The ones moving quietly behind the scenes? In just a moment, we'll slip into the quiet morning shadows of Edric's chamber. The scent of burning wood curling through the cold stone, the soft echo of footsteps from distant servants. A day awaits, heavy with expectations and unseen struggles. But first, take a slow breath, settle in comfortably, and if you haven't yet, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the delicate unfolding of history's quiet dramas. Are you ready to step inside the manor and walk softly through a day unlike any you've heard before? Let's begin. The first light of dawn gently slips through the narrow, stained glass window, casting soft patches of color onto the cool, uneven stone floor of the chamber. A faint chill lingers in the air, the kind that clings to your skin and whispers of the night's fading breath. The walls, thick and ancient, hold the stories of countless seasons, some bright with laughter, others heavy with secrets. In this quiet moment, before the castle awakens, there is a stillness almost sacred, as if the stones themselves are catching their breath. Edric stirs beneath the heavy woolen blankets, the coarse fabric rough against his skin but comforting in its familiarity. His eyes flutter open, slow and reluctant, adjusting to the dim morning light. The faint scent of burning wood drifts in from the hearth, mingling with the subtle hint of damp earth and the faint musk of old tapestries. It is the scent of the manor's soul, a reminder of enduring warmth amid cold stone. Outside, the first distant footsteps of the servants begin to echo softly down the winding hallways, their muted rhythm a quiet herald of the day to come. Somewhere, the clinking of a water jug being filled from the well, a whispered exchange between early risers, the shuffle of heavy boots on flagstones, all unfold like a gentle symphony playing just beyond the door. Edric inhales deeply, savoring the fragile stillness. This is a moment caught between worlds, the fading dreams of night and the inevitable demands of day. He lies still for a heartbeat longer, feeling the weight of responsibility settle over him like the morning mist outside the manor walls. You see, Edric is no ordinary man. At 35, he carries the unspoken burden of orchestrating the grand feasts that echo through these halls. Events where power is tasted in every bite and alliances are forged over shared cups of wine. His world is one of hushed negotiations and delicate arrangements, where a misplaced word or an ill-timed glance can ripple into lasting consequence. Have you ever wondered what it might feel like to wake each day knowing you hold the threads of so many lives in your hands? To navigate a maze of egos and ambitions, with every detail scrutinized, every choice weighed? Edric's mornings are filled with this quiet tension, a steady undercurrent beneath the manor's waking chorus. His hand reaches out, brushing aside a folded parchment left at the foot of his bed. A list, ever-changing, demanding his immediate attention. The names etched there belong to nobles, knights, and ladies, each carrying their own stories, grudges, and secrets. The thought of arranging them all, to sit in a room thick with whispered alliances and veiled threats, weighs on him like the iron chains of the castle gates. Outside his window, the sky shifts from deep indigo to a muted gray, the faintest glow promising the sun's arrival. A chill breeze snakes through the open shutters, carrying the distant song of birds and the rustling of autumn leaves. The manor is waking, slowly stretching its ancient limbs. Edric rises, his feet meeting the cold stone floor. The worn slippers he slips on have seen many such mornings, their soft leather molded by years of anxious pacing. He moves quietly, not wanting to disturb the fragile calm of the household's earliest moments. In the hallway, the muffled footsteps grow steadier. A young page passes by, his breath visible in the cool air, clutching a lantern whose flickering flame casts dancing shadows on the walls. The faint scent of beeswax from freshly polished candles mingles with the lingering aroma of herbs drying in the kitchen. These simple details, unnoticed by most, form the fabric of the manor's morning. Edric pauses briefly outside the great hall, where long oak tables await the day's preparations. The heavy velvet curtains hang still, the faint hum of activity beyond them yet to begin. This space, soon to be filled with laughter and debate, intrigue and indulgence, holds a silence that feels almost holy in this early hour. The weight of what is to come presses gently on his shoulders. For the feasts he plans are more than mere celebrations. They are stages upon which the dramas of power unfold, where loyalties are tested, favors exchanged, and futures shaped beneath chandeliers dripping with candlelight. Have you ever felt that sense of anticipation mixed with unease? That delicate balance between hope and apprehension? For Edric, it is a constant companion. He knows that each detail, from the exact placement of a goblet to the timing of the musician's first notes, can tip the night toward triumph or disaster. The manor's great clock tolls softly, its deep chimes resonating through stone and wood. Time is slipping forward, and with it, the chance to prepare, to perfect, to hold the many threads together. Edric moves towards the small writing desk near the window, where quills and ink wait like silent sentinels. He unrolls the parchment, eyes tracing the carefully inked names and notes. His mind already begins weaving through the challenges ahead. Seating arrangements delicate enough to avoid offense, menus rich enough to impress, entertainment calculated to charm yet never to overshadow the subtle dance of conversation. Outside, the castle stirs further. Servants carry baskets of fresh bread, their footsteps blending with the rhythmic clatter of wooden wheels bringing in barrels of wine. The smell of baking mingles with that of smoldering hearths. This slow awakening forms the heartbeat of the manor, steady and sure. Edric's gaze lifts to the high ceiling, where beams stretch like ancient arms holding centuries of history. Here, in this quiet moment, he feels the weight of tradition and expectation. You might wonder how one man carries such a burden, how he balances the beauty and the chaos, the light and the shadow. It is not just skill, but patience, and a keen understanding of the human heart. His day will be long. There will be challenges unforeseen and decisions made in hushed urgency. Yet in this moment, as dawn breathes life into the manor's stone, there is a fragile peace, a whisper of possibility before the storm of the feast begins. So, I invite you now to linger with me in these early morning shadows, to breathe in the stillness and prepare to step with Edric into a world where every smile is a strategy, every toast a treaty, and every glance a secret waiting to be told. Let us walk softly through these halls, where history is made not in battles won or lost, but in the subtle art of keeping the peace, one carefully planned banquet at a time. The parchment lay spread before Edric on the worn oak table, its edges curled slightly from the many hands that had held it before. The ink, still fresh in some places, carried a list that was far more than a mere roll of names. It was a delicate tapestry woven from threads of loyalty and rivalry, alliance and suspicion, each name a knot in the web that Edric had to navigate with care and precision. The nobles summoned to this coming feast were not simply guests. They were players in a subtle and ongoing dance of power. Lords and ladies from neighboring shires, knights who had seen too many battles, and counselors whose words could shape kingdoms. All intertwined in a fragile balance that rested on more than just fine wine and rich food. They carried grudges older than the stones beneath their feet, and hopes as fragile as the crystal goblets set for the evening. Edric's eyes moved slowly across the list. There was Lady Maud, whose sharp wit was matched only by the coldness of her gaze. Her husband, Lord Reynard, was known for his temper, and though they sat side by side in public, whispers said their loyalties often pulled them apart like the tides. Nearby, Sir Aldric, a battle-worn knight with scars both visible and hidden, nursed a quiet resentment toward the Chancellor, whose favor he had long sought but never received. Arranging such company around the long banquet table was an art that required both patience and a keen understanding of human nature. Seating was never random. In this world, where every glance and gesture was weighted with meaning, a poorly placed chair could ignite a silent war. Edric knew the stories whispered behind closed doors, the unspoken alliances forged in shadowed corridors, and the rivalries that simmered beneath polite smiles. How does one decide who sits beside whom? Edric often wondered. When every placement can shift the balance of power, it was a question he pondered late into the night, long after the candles had guttered and the manor had fallen silent. The list also included the royal envoy, a figure cloaked in formality and bearing the weight of the crown's gaze. His presence was both an honor and a source of unease. One misstep could be interpreted as a slight against the throne itself. Edric felt the pressure keenly, knowing that each nod or sip of wine would be watched and remembered. In addition to the well-known lords and ladies, there were the courtiers and ladies in waiting, their allegiances shifting as fluidly as the candlelight flickering on the tapestry walls. Their gossip and influence were as potent as any sword, and they could be the arbiters of fortune or ruin. Edric was careful to consider their placement as well, mindful of the delicate egos and secret ambitions they carried. He paused over a pair of names, Sir Geoffrey and Lady Isolde, once allies, now rumored to be rivals. Their history was layered with whispered betrayals and unfulfilled promises. Seating them too close could rekindle old flames of discord. Too far apart, and it might invite cold suspicions. Edric decided on a measured distance with a mutual friend between them, a buffer both literal and figurative. Beyond personal rivalries, there were broader political currents at play. The realm was in a time of uneasy peace, where old battles had left scars, and new alliances were fragile. The feast was more than celebration. It was a stage for diplomacy, subtle negotiation, and the exchange of veiled threats. Edric's role was to ensure the evening passed without open conflict, but he knew well that beneath the veneer of courtesy, tensions were taut as bowstrings ready to snap. As he traced a finger down the parchment, he noted the presence of the merchant's envoy, a man with wealth but little title, whose influence had grown in recent years. His arrival at the table was a reminder of the shifting dynamics, where gold could rival bloodlines, and favors were bought as much as inherited. Each guest carried stories of their own. Alliances formed over hunts in the forest, debts owed and forgiven in quiet chambers, rivalries born from lost lands and broken vows. Edric listened often to these stories, piecing together a map of relationships that was invisible to many but essential to his task. The sheer weight of this responsibility settled over him. Unlike the knights who wielded swords or the lords who commanded armies, Edric's power was quiet and unseen, but no less consequential. He was the architect of harmony in a house built precariously on tension. He thought of the conversations that would fill the hall, the polite compliments masking sharper criticisms, the laughter that might hide cutting remarks. How would the seating influence the tone of these exchanges? Could a well-placed smile or a shared toast avert a brewing storm? Edric's hand moved to his quill, adding notes beside certain names, reminders of past incidents, hints of fragile egos, and warnings of potential clashes. He circled the name of Lady Marjorie, known for her sharp tongue and quick temper, and scribbled a note to seat her away from Sir Thomas, whose recent loss of favor had left him bitter and unpredictable. The challenges of the guest list extended beyond personalities. Practical concerns tugged at him as well. Who would require special accommodations? Who preferred quiet corners? Who might bring attendants needing space of their own? The manor's great hall, though vast, was finite, and Edric had to balance comfort with strategy. As the morning light grew steadier, spilling warmer hues across the room, Edric allowed himself a brief sigh. The guest list was but the first of many webs he would weave that day. Each name a thread, each relationship a knot, and he the steady hand tasked with holding the whole together without unraveling. Have you ever found yourself caught between conflicting loyalties? Between the desire to please and the need to survive? Edric's story is one of such balance, walking a fine line in a world where a single misplaced word or a badly chosen seat could change the course of many lives. This web of loyalties and rivalries is as old as history itself, and as delicate as the fragile glow of a candle flame in the vastness of night. And so, as Edric turns from the list to begin the next stage of his day, the manor slowly hums to life around him, its heartbeat echoing in every whispered plan and cautious smile. What choices will he make to keep the peace tonight? Which alliances will be forged, and which will quietly fray in the shadows? In the world behind these stone walls, every detail matters, and the web continues to spin. The morning light filters softly through the narrow windows of the manor's great kitchen, where the air is thick with the mingling scents of herbs, smoke, and simmering broths. It is here, amidst the clatter of pots and the rhythmic chopping of knives, that the true magic of the feast begins to take shape, a careful alchemy of taste and opulence, crafted to delight the senses and impress even the most discerning of guests. Edric moves quietly among the bustling figures of cooks and servants, his presence a steady calm amid the controlled chaos. The kitchen is a world unto itself, filled with secret recipes handed down through generations, and guarded jealously like treasured heirlooms. Here, the simplest ingredients, wild game from the forest, freshly caught fish from the nearby river, and grains milled from the manor's own fields, are transformed into dishes worthy of kings and queens. The centerpiece of tonight's banquet is the venison roast, its rich aroma already filling the air, mingling with the scent of roasted root vegetables glazed with honey and herbs. The cooks handle the meat with reverence, seasoning it meticulously with a blend of rosemary, thyme, and crushed juniper berries. Each turn of the spit is a silent promise that the meat will be tender, flavorful, and worthy of the grandeur of the occasion. Beside the hearth, a large cauldron bubbles gently, filled with a fragrant stew of wild mushrooms, onions, and fresh garden herbs. The colors swirl beneath the surface, a tapestry of earth tones that hints at the forest's quiet mysteries. Edric knows that this stew will be more than just nourishment. It will be a comfort, a connection to the land and the cycles of the seasons. Fresh bread, still warm from the oven, waits wrapped in linen. The crust crackles softly as a servant slices it carefully, revealing the dense, dark crumb within. The bread is hearty and plain, but it carries the essence of the manor's hearth, a staple that anchors the lavish feast with its humble strength. Wine, of course, is central to the evening's pleasures. Edric has spared no effort in securing the finest vintages. Dark red wines from distant vineyards, aged to perfection, promise warmth and richness, while lighter white wines offer a crisp contrast, refreshing the palate between courses. The cellar holds a collection gathered over many years, each bottle a story of patience and craftsmanship. But with such grandeur comes great responsibility. Edric's thoughts drift briefly to the shadowed risks that linger behind every choice. The fear of spoiled food, of illness, of displeased guests. In a time when trust in the kitchen was a fragile thing, one mistake could cast a long shadow over the evening and on his own standing. He watches as the head cook tastes a rich sauce, adjusting spices with a careful hand, knowing that this moment holds the fate of the feast. Rare delicacies are woven throughout the menu, meant to dazzle and intrigue. Smoked trout, caught fresh from the river that morning, is laid out on a bed of fresh greens, its delicate flesh glistening in the candlelight that will soon fill the hall. Platters of figs and grapes, their skins taut and glossy, offer sweetness that contrasts with the savory courses. In the corner, a tray of spiced nuts and honeyed cakes awaits, their fragrant aromas promising a gentle end to the feast. These treats are crafted with care. Almonds toasted to golden perfection, drizzled with wild honey, and soft cakes infused with cinnamon and cloves. They are small luxuries, meant to linger on the tongue and in memory. Edric's eyes catch the glint of a small jar filled with a mysterious amber liquid, an infusion of rare herbs and flowers, reserved for those of highest status, intended to be sipped slowly, like a secret whispered in the night. Such touches elevate the feast beyond mere sustenance, turning it into a sensory journey that echoes the wealth and sophistication of the manor. He takes a slow breath, absorbing the warmth and energy of the kitchen, the steady hum of voices, the scent of wood smoke and fresh herbs blending into a heady perfume. This is the heart of the celebration, the place where effort and artistry come together in a dance as old as civilization itself. The kitchen staff moves with practiced grace, their tasks choreographed through years of repetition and quiet understanding. The apprentice lad balances a tray of delicate pastries, his steps careful and measured, while the elderly cook stirs a fragrant stew with a wooden spoon worn smooth by decades of use. Each person plays their part in the unfolding drama, their contributions vital yet often unseen. Edric's mind flickers to the guests soon to fill the great hall, their expectations, their tastes, their tempers. He knows that the menu must speak to all of them, weaving together tradition and innovation, comfort and surprise. The food is a language of its own, telling stories of the land, the season, and the skill of those who prepared it. And yet, beneath the surface of this culinary symphony, there lies a quiet tension, the weight of preparation, the fear of the unknown, the fragile balance between success and failure. Every detail must be perfect, not just for the sake of pleasure, but for the preservation of honor and reputation. Edric pauses by the spice cabinet, where jars of cinnamon, nutmeg, and mace gleam softly in the morning light. These exotic treasures, brought from distant lands by traders and travelers, are more than mere seasoning. They are symbols of status, power, and connection to the wider world. He lifts a small sack of saffron, its threads vivid and precious, knowing that even the smallest pinch can transform a dish from ordinary to extraordinary. Such subtlety requires a delicate hand, an understanding of balance, and an unwavering attention to detail. Nearby, the bakers prepare loaves with a practiced rhythm, their hands moving in harmony with the rising dough and flickering flames of the oven. The warmth from the hearth seeps into the stone walls, filling the kitchen with a comforting glow. Edric's gaze softens as he watches a young girl carefully arrange fresh herbs, rosemary, thyme, and parsley, onto a platter of roasted meats. Her hands are steady, her focus absolute, unaware of the greater weight carried by the feast she helps create. This gathering of flavors, scents, and textures is more than just a meal. It is a ritual, a statement of abundance and refinement, a momentary escape from the hardships beyond the manor gates. In this quiet morning stillness, Edric feels the pulse of tradition and the promise of the evening to come. The feast will soon unfold, weaving together the lives and ambitions of all who gather. Have you ever considered the silent toil behind such splendor? The unseen hands that craft the delicate balance of taste and ceremony? It is a labor both humble and profound. Tonight, every bite will carry meaning. Every sip will echo history. And in the alchemy of taste and opulence, Edric's careful orchestration will come to life. A delicate dance of flavor and power beneath the candlelit ceilings of the manor. As the preparations continue, the kitchen hums softly. A quiet symphony of anticipation, skill, and hope. And in the gentle unfolding of this morning, the promise of a grand night begins to stir. The dim glow of lanterns begins to spread softly through the manor's grand hall as afternoon slips quietly toward evening. It is in this tender light, balanced delicately between shadow and flame, that the entertainers take their places, figures who will weave the evening's magic, their artistry a silent language spoken between gestures and melodies. Edric watches as the musicians arrive first, their steps careful and measured, the weight of their instruments cradled like precious relics. The harpist moves with grace, her fingers already poised to coax gentle notes from the strings. Nearby, a small troop of flutists, their cheeks flushed from the journey, tune their pipes, filling the room with the faintest whispers of melody, a prelude to the symphony to come. The dancers, adorned in flowing silks and soft leathers, gather at the edge of the hall, their eyes reflecting flickering candlelight. They move with a quiet intensity, stretching limbs and fingers in silent preparation. Their artistry is not just movement but a story told through every step, every sway, each a delicate brushstroke on the canvas of the night. Yet behind this poised elegance lies a complex web of tension and rivalry, as subtle as the shadows that dance on the walls. The performers, while bound by the shared goal of enchanting their audience, carry within them ambitions and fears, jealousies and alliances that shift like the flames flicker. Edric is well acquainted with these undercurrents. He knows the glances exchanged between the lead flutist and the harpist, an unspoken contest of skill and favor. The slight narrowing of eyes when one dancer edges too close to another's spotlight, the whispered words that trail behind the performers like a faint echo. Artistry, he thinks quietly, is as much about control as it is about expression. The entertainers here are masters not only of their craft but of the delicate dance of power that unfolds beneath the surface of every performance. A jester, colorful and nimble, appears next, his bright costume a sharp contrast to the muted tones of the hall. He moves with practiced ease, the weight of expectation balanced by a lightness of heart. His role is to stir laughter and ease tension, to offer moments of levity in a gathering fraught with whispered schemes. Yet even he is not immune to the unspoken rules, the careful timing of jokes, the avoidance of certain topics that might ignite old wounds. Edric notes the presence of the mime twins, their faces painted in stark white, their movements fluid and exaggerated. They will soon fill the space between music and dance with silent stories, tales of love, loss, and folly performed in shadow and light. Their art is subtle but powerful, capable of eliciting laughter and reflection in equal measure. There is a fragile beauty in this balance. The entertainers must captivate without overshadowing, to enchant without offending. Each note, each gesture, is weighed carefully, like the steps of a tightrope walker suspended above a sea of expectation. The musicians begin a tentative melody, the harp strings trembling gently under the skilled fingers of the player. The flutes join softly, weaving airy threads of sound that float across the hall like whispered secrets. The dancers start with slow, deliberate movements, their bodies tracing graceful arcs that mirror the rise and fall of the music. In this moment, the manor breathes with a quiet life of its own. The flickering candlelight casts shifting patterns that play across the faces of the assembled guests, their eyes reflecting the spell being woven before them. Yet, beneath the surface, Edric senses the undercurrents, the wary glances from one performer to another, the subtle signs of unrest. A misstep here, a missed note there, could ripple outward, disturbing the fragile harmony. He recalls times past when a sudden burst of discord threatened to unravel the evening. The sharp exchange of words between musicians, the jealous glare that set a dancer off balance. Such moments are fleeting but potent, and Edric's steady presence is often the quiet force that calms the rising storm. Art, after all, is not just about beauty, it is also about control. The entertainers must not only master their craft, but also navigate the intricate politics of favor and jealousy. Their success depends as much on their ability to read the room as on their skill with instrument or body. Edric reflects on the delicate timing required, the precise moment to raise the tempo, to soften the music, to signal the dancers forward. It is a choreography beyond the stage, a dance of anticipation and restraint played out in the silent exchanges between performer and planner. He watches the youngest apprentice, a boy with wide eyes and nimble fingers, carefully adjusting a lute's strings under the watchful gaze of the master musician. There is a quiet hope in the boy's posture, a longing to step into the light without faltering. The entertainer's presence is a tapestry woven from contrasts. Light and shadow, sound and silence, joy and tension. They carry the hopes of the evening on their shoulders, their art a fragile vessel meant to transport the guests beyond the everyday into a realm where stories live and breathe. Have you ever noticed how a single note can change the mood of a room? How the slightest hesitation in a dance step can send a ripple through the audience's heart? Tonight, these nuances will shape the night's unfolding, carrying whispered promises and unspoken warnings alike. Edric feels the weight of responsibility settle gently upon him, like a familiar cloak. The performers look to him not just as organizer, but as conductor of this delicate symphony, the unseen hand guiding the flow of light and shadow. The music swells softly, the dancers' movements become more fluid, and the hall fills with a gentle pulse, a heartbeat that echoes the fragile balance of power and grace. In this quiet moment, before the full embrace of night and celebration, Edric allows himself a brief breath of calm, knowing that soon the hall will be alive with laughter, whispers, and the intricate dance of human desire. And as the flames flicker and the shadows deepen, the artistry between light and shadow begins. An ancient tale told anew beneath the manor's vaulted ceilings. The manor's grand hall, prepared with great care and quiet precision, soon relies not only on the guests and entertainers but also on the steady rhythm of those who move unseen, those whom Edric quietly calls his invisible army. These are the servants, the attendants, the hands and eyes that keep the evening from unraveling, the unseen forces who bear the weight of countless small tasks that together create the seamless flow of the feast. Edric knows well that while nobles enjoy the glory and the spotlight, it is this army behind the scenes that holds the true power to shape the night. Their roles are many: cupbearers who pour the wine with practiced ease, ensuring that no glass runs dry yet none overflows; fruit attendants who quietly refresh platters and remove any blemished grapes or bruised figs without drawing attention; and the silent footmen who glide through the shadows, anticipating needs before they are spoken aloud. The coordination required is immense. Each servant must know their place and timing perfectly, like the gears of a finely crafted clock. A single misstep, a spilled goblet, a forgotten tray, can cascade into disruption, breaking the delicate spell Edric strives so hard to maintain. He recalls the last banquet, when a young cupbearer, nervous and unsteady, nearly caused a scandal by offering full-strength wine to a guest known for his delicate constitution. The aftermath was a flurry of whispered complaints and hasty apologies. Since then, Edric has taken special care to instruct his staff in the subtle art of discretion, reminding them gently but firmly that the night's success depends on their silent vigilance. There are the fan-bearers, too, tasked with the subtle dance of cooling nobles at just the right moment. Their timing is an invisible thread woven through the evening. One gust too strong can extinguish a candle or reveal a secret too soon, while a breeze too weak leaves a noble sweating into their fine garments. Edric watches these attendants with a mixture of admiration and concern, knowing that their skill requires a quiet attentiveness few possess. The kitchen staff, though separated by thick stone walls, plays an equally vital role. The head cook is a stern figure, commanding a small army of assistants who work tirelessly to prepare each course on time and to exacting standards. Edric sometimes marvels at their precision, the way they seem to dance around each other in the cramped, steamy space, orchestrating the complex symphony of roasting, boiling, and baking. Yet beneath the surface of this smooth operation, tensions simmer. Servants are human, after all, with their own hopes and fears, rivalries and alliances. Edric is aware of the occasional whispered quarrel or secret grievance carried quietly through the servants' quarters. He knows that maintaining morale is as important as maintaining order. Before the feast, he gathers his staff in the cool morning atrium, their faces still fresh from the early hours, but eyes already sharp with anticipation. He speaks softly but clearly, his words measured like the beat of a slow drum. "You are the unseen heart of this evening," he tells them. "Your silence and grace will carry this feast. Move like shadows, speak only when needed, and remember, our success is measured not by the applause of the guests, but by their oblivion to the effort behind the scenes." There is a quiet nodding, a collective understanding that tonight they must be perfect in their invisibility. Edric assigns zones to his cupbearers: the central triclinium, where the most important guests recline, the peripheral lounges where whispered councils may meet, and the garden alcoves, places of secret conversation and softer light. Each cupbearer knows to dilute the stronger wines unless otherwise instructed, a subtle tactic to keep the guests merry but not reckless. Fruit attendants, sometimes overlooked, are given precise instructions. They must peel grapes only upon request, never drawing attention, and quietly remove any fruit beginning to wilt or spoil. Such details, small though they may seem, shape the guest's experience, creating an illusion of effortless abundance. Edric moves among the dancers, who lean against pillars, their limbs still supple from warm-ups, yet their expressions are distant, their conversations subdued. He reminds them gently, no improvisations tonight, no sudden flourishes that might steal the spotlight or break the carefully planned rhythm. His voice holds the weight of past lessons learned, the night when a fire dancer's reckless move nearly set the draperies ablaze, forcing an emergency that still lingers in the memories of those who witnessed it. The youngest servant, a boy no older than 10, stands shyly at the edge of the group. Edric catches his eye and offers a small nod, a silent pact of trust and responsibility. The boy's role is humble yet critical, collecting discarded sandals from guests who have chosen to recline more fully or loosen their grips on decorum. It is a task requiring discretion and care, and the boy, eager and nervous, seems ready to meet the challenge. Edric's final instructions resonate through the atrium like a soft command. You are to be invisible unless called, silent unless spoken to, grace incarnate, Fail in these, and I will assign you to sponge duty until the next feast. The group smiles, some nervously, others with the quiet pride of those who understand the weight of their service. As the guests begin to arrive, the invisible army springs into motion. They glide between the throng with practiced ease, refilling cups before emptiness is noticed, adjusting cushions beneath weary elbows, and guiding latecomers discreetly to their places. Their work is unheralded, yet it is the backbone of the entire affair. Edric watches from a distance, his eyes sharp for any sign of faltering. He is aware of the fragile balance that holds the evening together, the harmony that can be broken by a dropped plate or a whispered insult. The servants' faces are masks of composure, but behind their calm, there is an undercurrent of tension. They move through the night like dancers themselves, each step measured, each gesture precise. Have you ever thought about those who labor quietly in the background, whose names you never hear, yet without whom the grandest events would unravel? Their stories are seldom told, but their impact is profound. Edric feels a deep respect for this invisible army, those who carry the feast upon their shoulders, whose vigilance preserves the illusion of effortless splendor. In the stillness between moments, he reminds himself that their work is not just service, but a kind of artistry, one that requires patience, skill, and a steadfast heart. As the night deepens and the candles burn lower, the invisible army remains vigilant, unseen but essential, moving like shadows between light and laughter, holding the night together with quiet hands. And so, beneath the glow of flickering flames and the murmur of noble voices, the feast proceeds, not only on the tables but carried forward on the grace of those who serve in silence. Even the most carefully laid plans can begin to unravel in the quietest and most unexpected ways. Edric, standing just beyond the glowing candlelight of the great hall, feels the familiar tightening in his chest, the subtle pulse of approaching trouble. It is a sensation he has learned to recognize, a quiet whisper that grows louder beneath the laughter and music. The musicians, whose arrival had been delayed by a late market day, finally appear, their faces flushed and breathless. The lead flutist, still catching her breath, carries the weight of an absent lute player, a fact that immediately tugs at the fragile balance Edric has so meticulously constructed. The music that follows is tentative, a little unsteady, the notes wavering like flickering flames caught in a gentle breeze. Edric's eyes narrow slightly. A single misstep here could unsettle the entire flow of the evening. The dancers, sensing the faltering rhythm, glance at one another with a mix of concern and frustration. The harpist's soft sigh carries a hint of worry as she adjusts her fingers, trying to fill the unexpected gaps. In the corner, whispers begin to circulate. Guests, whose attention is usually fixed on the feast or the lively entertainment, now glance toward the musicians with a mix of curiosity and unease. Edric knows well that the absence of a single instrument can echo far beyond the notes missed. It can unsettle moods, unnerve guests, and invite distraction. Before he can move to intervene, a sharp murmur cuts through the murmur of conversation. Two noble women, seated side by side but worlds apart in temperament, exchange thinly veiled barbs over a trivial slight, a misplaced cup, perhaps, or an unintended glance. Their whispered voices sharpen, drawing the attention of those nearby. Edric senses the tension rise like a slow, creeping tide. His gaze shifts swiftly to the young page struggling to carry a tray laden with delicate pastries. One step too quick, a sudden shift in balance, and the tray tilts, sending a cascade of sweets tumbling onto the polished floor. The sound, sharp and unexpected, halts a conversation mid-sentence. A few guests turn, startled. The servants nearby stiffen, eyes wide with silent apology. Edric breathes slowly, reminding himself that these moments, though small, can ignite larger flames if not tempered carefully. His feet carry him forward, steady and sure, a quiet presence moving through the currents of unrest. In the kitchen, the head cook's voice rises in a controlled shout, reprimanding an assistant who has failed to follow the precise recipe for the honey glaze. The assistant's cheeks flush with embarrassment, and Edric knows this too will ripple outward if not handled gently. The scent of burning honey faintly wafts through the corridors, a subtle hint of disorder hidden beneath the expected sweetness. Back in the hall, a heated debate has begun near the western alcove. A group of knights locked in a contest of words over a recent territorial dispute. Their voices, low but firm, carry a dangerous edge. The flickering light casts long shadows over their faces, emphasizing the hardness in their eyes. Edric steps between the arguing men with a calmness born of experience, offering a measured word or a light touch on a shoulder. The words he chooses are soft but firm, a gentle reminder of the evening's purpose and the need for decorum. Slowly, the tension eases, replaced by reluctant nods and the settling of voices. He catches a glimpse of the jester near the entrance, his painted smile faltering for a moment as he senses the shifting mood. Even the brightest mask cannot always hide the stirrings of unease beneath the surface. Amid the unfolding challenges, Edric's mind races, not with panic, but with focused clarity. He recalls the many feasts before this, each touched by its own small crises. A spilled goblet, a forgotten toast, a sudden illness, and how, with steady hands and a calm heart, those moments were woven back into the fabric of the evening. A sudden gust from an ill-closed door sends a flickering candle plunging, its flame dancing dangerously close to the rich tapestries. A hush falls as servants move quickly to steady the light, their movements swift and practiced. The threat is averted, but the moment leaves a trace of tension, like a sharp note lingering after a melody has ended. Edric feels the weight of responsibility deepen. The knight's delicate balance is fragile, held together by countless small acts of care and quick decisions made in the shadows. The musicians, now settling into a steadier rhythm, fill the hall once more with a gentle harmony, weaving through the murmurs and laughter like a soothing balm. The dancers resume their graceful arcs, their movements fluid and hypnotic, helping to restore the mood with quiet artistry. Yet beneath the surface, Edric knows, the night remains a landscape of potential hazards. Words overheard, glances misread, secrets teetering on the edge of revelation. Every smile could conceal a sharpened intent. Every toast might hide a challenge. In these moments, Edric moves like a silent guardian, his eyes watching for the subtle shifts in atmosphere, his presence a steadying force against the currents of unrest. He pauses briefly by a servant who looks weary, offering a small nod of encouragement, a reminder that even in the midst of chaos, there is strength to be found in quiet support. Have you ever found yourself in a place where, despite your best efforts, things begin to slip beyond your control? Where the smallest disruption feels like a whisper growing into a storm? Edric knows that this is the true test of his role, not the flawless perfection of the feast, but the ability to guide it through the unexpected, to turn potential disaster into quiet triumph. The night stretches ahead, filled with promise and peril intertwined. As the guests settle once more into their seats, and the music weaves its spell through the hall, Edric draws a slow breath. In the gentle flicker of candlelight and the soft murmur of voices, he finds his calm, ready to meet whatever comes next with steady hands and a watchful heart. The Manor's great hall, vast and echoing, slowly begins to transform as twilight gently settles over the land. Outside, the fading light casts long shadows across the stone walls, softening the harsh edges and inviting a quiet kind of mystery. It is in this moment that the true alchemy of atmosphere begins, the delicate art of lighting the halls, where flame and shadow weave together to create a world both enchanting and elusive. Edric moves among the flickering candles and oil lamps, his steps measured and deliberate. Each source of light is placed with care, a thread in the intricate tapestry of illumination that will set the tone for the evening. The glow is warm, golden, yet restrained. Not so bright as to harshly reveal every detail, but enough to caress the faces of guests with a gentle, flattering touch. He watches as servants light taper candles one by one, the tiny flames catching eagerly from one wick to another, a soft procession of sparks that seem to breathe life into the vast space. The scent of beeswax mingles with the faint aroma of burning wood, wrapping the room in a comforting embrace that whispers of home and hearth. The flicker of the flames casts dancing shadows on the tapestry-lined walls, making the embroidered scenes come alive in a slow, mesmerizing motion. Figures of kings and knights, of hunts and feasts long past, shift and sway as if breathing alongside the present moment. It is a quiet reminder that history lives here, in stone, in fabric, and now in light. Edric's eyes linger on the chandeliers high above, wrought iron arms stretching out like skeletal branches holding clusters of flickering candles. They hang suspended, a constellation of tiny suns, their glow pooling in soft circles below. The chandelier's light is both practical and poetic, illuminating the space while preserving pockets of shadow where secrets may nestle unseen. This interplay of light and dark is no accident. Edric knows well that atmosphere is as much about what is hidden as what is revealed. The shadows soften the edges of the room, inviting whispered conversations, quiet glances, and moments of intimacy amid the grandeur. At the entrance, flower petals, delicately scattered by a shy servant, catch the candlelight, their subtle colors enriched by the warm glow. Edric reminds the youth gently not to overdo the scattering, knowing all too well how easy it is for the scene to tip from elegant to chaotic. The soft rustle of petals underfoot will soon be replaced by the shuffle of dancing feet and the murmur of voices. Near the hearth, a cluster of incense burners send thin tendrils of fragrant smoke spiraling upward. The scents of myrrh, sandalwood, and rose mingle in the air, their presence both grounding and ethereal. These aromas are chosen with care, not overpowering, but just enough to veil the manor in an aura of quiet luxury. Edric pauses to inhale deeply, allowing the familiar fragrances to steady his thoughts. The candles along the long dining tables are arranged with similar attention. Each goblet, each plate, is placed to catch the soft glow, creating a shimmering river of light that flows the length of the hall. Edric watches the reflections dance on the polished silverware, the delicate glass, and the surface of the dark wooden tables. It is a subtle spectacle, a hint of opulence whispered rather than shouted. In quieter corners of the hall, where guests might retreat for more private conversation, the light is softer still. Small lamps with tinted glass cast pools of color, a deep amber here, a gentle blue there, turning these spaces into intimate alcoves. Edric knows these areas will soon be filled with secrets shared in hushed tones, and he shapes the lighting accordingly, mindful of the moods it will invite. Yet the lighting serves another purpose beyond beauty and comfort. It is a tool of illusion, a way to shape perception and guide the night's unfolding. Edric understands that well-placed light can draw focus, divert attention, or soften the impact of any small mishap that might arise. The flicker of a flame can hide a spilled drop of wine or mask a fleeting frown. He recalls a past feast where a single candle, carefully positioned, saved the evening by diverting a guest's eyes from an unfortunate spill on the tablecloth. Such moments, seemingly trivial, carry great weight in the delicate dance of appearances. The manor's labyrinthine corridors are lit more sparingly, their darkness a gentle invitation to discovery. Lanterns hang at intervals, their steady glow marking the path without dispelling the mystery. These dimly lit passages will soon be the stage for secret meetings and stolen moments, and Edric's lighting choices allow the night to hold its breath. He checks once more the small votive candles placed near the latrines, an area often forgotten but vital to the evening's dignity. Their faint glow ensures comfort and cleanliness without drawing undue attention, preserving the manor's grace in even its most private spaces. In the midst of these preparations, Edric is struck by the paradox of light itself. It reveals and conceals, comforts and challenges. To create the perfect atmosphere, one must understand not only the power of illumination but also the strength of shadow. The servants move silently around him, adjusting a lantern here, trimming a wick there, their careful hands shaping the night's mood with quiet precision. Their work is a kind of magic, a transformation of space through gentle light and delicate scent. Edric feels a deep appreciation for this subtle art, knowing that when the guests arrive, the lighting will do more than brighten the room. It will set the tone, evoke emotion, and carry whispers of promise and mystery. Have you ever noticed how a soft light can soften even the sharpest edge? How the play of shadow can turn a simple room into a place of wonder and enchantment? Tonight, the manor becomes such a place, a realm of light and shadow where every flicker holds meaning. He steps back, eyes sweeping the hall one last time. The transformation is nearly complete. The manor, once cold and silent, now hums with a gentle golden glow. The scene is set, the illusions crafted, and as the first guests step through the doors, their faces bathed in candlelight, the night will come alive. Not just with music and laughter, but with the quiet magic born of flame and shadow. In this soft illumination, stories will unfold, secrets will be kept, and memories will be forged. Under the watchful eyes of flickering light and the silent embrace of shadow, the great hall now breathes with life. The long tables, laden with gleaming platters of roasted meats, fresh fruits, and steaming bowls of fragrant stew, await the arrival of the guests. Soft music threads through the air, strings and flutes weaving a gentle melody that sets the pace for the evening. It is here, beneath the soaring timbered ceiling and flickering candlelight, that the banquet truly begins. A dance of power and pleasure where every gesture, every smile, every whispered word carries weight far beyond its surface. Edric watches quietly from a shadowed corner, his eyes tracing the slow, deliberate movements of the nobles as they enter the hall. Their robes rustle softly, embroidered silks catching the light as they glide to their assigned places. Faces mask a mixture of expectation, strategy, and subtle calculation. To the untrained eye, this may seem a simple feast, a moment of conviviality. But Edric knows better. He feels the undercurrents swirling beneath the polite laughter and raised goblets. The center couch, a place of honor reserved for the highest-ranking guest, is already occupied by Lord Darien, a man whose presence commands the room with a quiet intensity. His eyes, sharp and surveying, take in the assembly with measured approval. Beside him, Lady Aloan offers a smile that does not quite reach her eyes, her gaze flickering toward a rival noble seated a few cushions away. Edric's heart beats in time with the subtle dance unfolding before him. Seating arrangements, carefully crafted and silently negotiated, have placed friends and foes in close proximity. Lovers and adversaries recline near one another, their interactions a carefully balanced game of restraint and provocation. The wine flows freely, deep reds and golden ambers poured into goblets that catch the candlelight and throw it back in soft glimmers. Each sip is a ritual, a toast to alliances forged and battles waged. The servers move with quiet grace, replenishing cups before they run dry, ever mindful of the delicate balance between indulgence and decorum. Amid the murmurs and laughter, Voices drop to softer tones as private conversations bloom like delicate flowers in hidden corners. Words spoken here carry promises and threats alike, their meanings wrapped in layers of diplomacy and intrigue. Edric listens, attuned to the cadence of the room, the rise and fall of voices, the sharp laughter that hints at underlying tension, the silences pregnant with unspoken agreements. He senses when a glance lingers too long, when a smile is too forced, when a toast is made with an edge of challenge. The dancers take their places in the center of the hall, their bodies poised like coiled springs ready to release. Their movements begin slowly, a graceful unfolding of limbs that mimic the rise of smoke or the ripple of water. The gold and crimson of their garments shimmer in the candlelight, each step a whisper of seduction and strength. As the music swells, the dance becomes more animated, spins and leaps that captivate the audience, drawing eyes away from whispered plots to the beauty of motion and sound. The dancers' faces hold a serene intensity, as if they are both telling and hiding stories through their art. A jester moves among the guests, his bright costume a burst of color against the muted tones of noble attire. He offers soft laughter and sharp wit, a reminder that even in the weightiest of gatherings, humor can hold sway. His jokes tread lightly, careful not to offend the delicate egos that gather here. Edric feels the careful choreography of the evening, the timing of laughter and music, the pauses between courses, the moments when eyes meet and hands brush. It is a dance more intricate than any performed on the floor, a ritual that sustains the fragile peace of this world. He notes a sudden shift as a guest, emboldened by wine, raises his voice in a toast that skirts the edges of controversy. The hall quiets briefly, eyes turning toward him. Edric moves swiftly, a subtle gesture here, a quiet word there, redirecting the mood before tension can take root. The banquet is a delicate balance of indulgence and restraint. The food delights the senses, spiced meats and sweet cakes, fresh breads and rich sauces. But it is the interplay of personalities that truly feeds the night. Each dish, each sip, becomes a language of power and pleasure. Have you ever been to a gathering where beneath the clinking glasses and warm smiles lies a web of alliances and rivalries, carefully masked yet undeniably present? Here, in this hall, every interaction is part of a larger story, of ambition, loyalty, desire, and survival. Edric's role is that of a silent conductor, guiding the flow of the evening, anticipating the shifts in mood, and smoothing the edges of conflict before they can flare. He is both participant and observer, a keeper of balance in a world where equilibrium is fragile and fleeting. The dancers' final movements slow, their breaths steadying as the music fades into a gentle murmur. Applause rises softly, a wave of appreciation that ripples through the hall. The guests settle back into their seats, glasses raised once more, the night unfolding into new chapters of whispered plots and secret glances. In this dance of power and pleasure, Edric sees not only the spectacle but the subtle exchange of wills beneath the surface, the unspoken promises and veiled challenges that will shape the days to come. As the candles burn low and shadows deepen, the feast continues, an elegant performance where every smile hides a story, every toast carries meaning, and every dance step echoes with the weight of unspoken truths. The banquet has reached its full stride now, and the great hall hums with a warm, lively energy that wraps around every corner and fills the lofty ceilings with laughter and conversation. The polished wooden tables, once pristine and carefully arranged, now bear the gentle marks of the feast in progress. Crumbs nestled in the folds of embroidered cloths, half-empty goblets catching the candlelight in uneven reflections, and platters strewn with remnants of roasted meats and sweet delicacies. Edric moves quietly through the crowd, a calm presence amid the gentle chaos that unfolds. Here, in this moment, the layers of formality give way to something more raw and human. A mingling of mirth and mischief, of indulgence and forgetfulness. The guests have shed some of their guarded reserve, their laughter growing louder, voices raised in shared stories and playful banter. A candle flickers dangerously close to a tapestry, and a quick-footed servant steps forward just in time to steady it, his hands steady despite the rush of the moment. Nearby, a young nobleman accidentally sends a fig sailing through the air, a perfect arc that lands with a soft thud on the floor beside a lord's finely embroidered boot. The hall bursts into a ripple of amused gasps and chuckles, the tension eased by this small, unexpected comedy. Edric allows himself a brief smile, knowing well that these small mishaps are part of the night's texture. They remind everyone that beneath the glittering robes and carefully measured words, there is a shared humanity, a playful spirit that surfaces when the wine flows and the music swells. Yet, amidst the laughter, there are moments where the edges of civility fray. Two courtiers, locked in a subtle contest of wit and will, trade sharp remarks disguised as compliments, their smiles tight and eyes gleaming with unspoken challenges. A servant hurries past, balancing a tray of wine, narrowly avoiding a collision with an overly enthusiastic guest who stumbles, sending a cascade of ruby liquid across the polished floor. The dancers, now warm to their audience, twirl and sway with growing confidence, their movements fluid and enticing. Their laughter, light and contagious, mingles with the music as they navigate the shifting moods of the crowd. One dancer's anklet slips, and she catches it with a quick laugh, a brief moment of imperfection that somehow makes her all the more enchanting. Edric notices the subtle glances exchanged across the room, the quiet signaling of allies, the wary observation of rivals, the tender looks shared in hidden corners. The feast is not merely a celebration, but a living, breathing drama unfolding in real time. A poet near the hearth raises his voice, launching into an impromptu verse that wobbles between praise and veiled satire. Some guests applaud politely, others shift uncomfortably, aware of the delicate line the words tread. Edric watches carefully, ready to intervene if the balance tips too far. A group of knights near the eastern window have taken to a lively game of jest and challenge, their boisterous laughter echoing through the hall. One of them, flushed with drink, attempts a clumsy juggling act with fruit from the nearby table. The balls of plum and fig wobble dangerously before tumbling to the floor, eliciting a mixture of hearty laughter and mock groans from the assembled guests. The jester, sensing an opportunity, weaves through the crowd, his bright costume a splash of color amid the deep hues of evening gowns and velvet cloaks. With nimble fingers and a quick wit, he defuses the tension and draws smiles with clever antics and light-hearted jibes. His presence is a balm, smoothing the rough edges of the night with humor and grace. Edric's gaze drifts to a corner where a whispered argument has quietly ignited. Two ladies, once friends, now exchange cold words masked in polite tones, their eyes sharp and calculating. Nearby, a lord tries to mediate, offering a glass of wine as a peace offering, his smile strained but sincere. The atmosphere is a blend of controlled chaos and charming disorder, a balance that Edric has spent years learning to manage. The guests are intoxicated not only by the wine, but by the subtle interplay of power, desire, and rivalry that unfolds with every glance and gesture. As the night deepens, the music swells to a crescendo, filling the hall with a hypnotic rhythm that seems to pulse in time with the flickering candle flames. The dancers lead the guests into a more spirited display, their movements both a celebration and a challenge, a dance of seduction and strength that captivates all who watch. In this luminous chaos, Edric moves like a conductor, his quiet commands and gentle interventions shaping the night's flow. He catches a falling goblet just before it shatters, redirects a heated conversation with a well-timed comment, and offers a reassuring nod to a nervous servant. Have you ever been in a place where joy and tension mingle so closely that they become indistinguishable? Where laughter hides unease, and every moment holds the possibility of delight or discord? Tonight, the banquet is alive with such moments. Small stories unfolding within the grand tale of the evening. The clatter of plates, the murmur of secrets, the burst of laughter, all weave together into a rich tapestry that carries the guests through hours of shared experience. Edric feels the weight of this orchestration, the delicate art of letting the night breathe and unfold while keeping its pulses steady and its flames from burning too fiercely. It is a dance as intricate as any on the floor, a balance of freedom and control that defines the essence of his role. As the candles flicker lower and the guests sway between revelry and repose, the great hall becomes a world unto itself, a place where chaos and comedy live side by side, each feeding the other, shaping the memories that will linger long after the final song fades. And in this warm, flickering glow, Edric watches, listens and guides, the silent guardian of the night's unfolding dance of power and pleasure. As the night gently leans toward its close, a softer light settles over the great hall, mingling with the lingering warmth of laughter and music. The air is thick with the rich scents of spiced wine and roasted meats, now faded to sweeter hints of honeyed cakes and lingering perfumes. The guests, once vibrant and lively, now recline more deeply into their cushions, their voices lowered to murmurs and sighs. Edric stands quietly near the edge of the hall, his posture steady but worn, his gaze sweeping over the room he has tended so carefully through the evening. The weight of the feast, the labor of countless hands, the intricate weaving of plans and contingencies, now rests upon him like a familiar but heavy cloak. He watches as the final moments unfold, each small gesture carrying the weight of a day's triumph and the gentle exhaustion that follows. A hush falls over the room as Lord Darien rises from his place at the center couch, glass raised high. His voice, though softened by hours of wine and weariness, commands attention with a quiet authority. The final toast begins, not merely a gesture of celebration, but a ritual of unity and endurance. To friendship, to honor, and to the strength that binds us through these dark and uncertain times. He intones, his words flowing like a warm current through the stillness. One by one, the guests lift their goblets in response, their faces glowing in the soft candlelight, eyes meeting with a shared understanding that tonight was more than a feast. It was a testament. The clink of glass resonates gently, a delicate chime that seems to echo through the still air. Edric feels a quiet satisfaction stir within him, tempered by the knowledge that such moments are fleeting, beautiful but fragile, like the candle flames that flicker low. He notices the subtle signs of weariness among the guests. A noblewoman's hand resting lightly on her husband's arm, a knight's eyelids fluttering shut for a brief respite, a group of young pages exchanging tired smiles behind a curtain. The feast has drawn them into a shared rhythm, one of connection, indulgence, and now slow release. The room hums softly with the warmth of spent energy. Conversations slow to gentle exchanges. Laughter softens to tender smiles, and the music, once lively and commanding, now drifts like a lullaby through the heavy air. Edric's eyes fall upon the scattered remnants of the evening, the emptied goblets, the half-eaten dishes, the rich fabrics crumpled beneath reclining bodies. Each tells a story of success and imperfection, of moments seized and moments lost in the flow of the night. There is a poignancy in this final gathering, a recognition that behind the grandeur lies the simple truth of human effort and vulnerability. The feast, with all its splendor and spectacle, has been held together by countless quiet acts, by the hands of servants, the skill of cooks, the grace of performers, and the steady guidance of one who watches from the shadows. Edric breathes in deeply, the scent of wax and wine mingling with the faint trace of jasmine from a guest's cloak. He feels the exhaustion settle into his bones, a slow and steady tide that pulls at his strength. Yet beneath this weariness lies a deep contentment, a knowing that, for all its challenges, the night has been shaped into something memorable, something worthy. The guests begin to stir, some rising reluctantly from their places, others lingering a moment longer in quiet reflection. A few exchange farewell words softened by the night's intimacy, promising to meet again when the wheel of seasons turns once more. Edric steps toward the great doors, his footsteps soft on the stone floor. Outside, the first hints of dawn begin to lighten the sky, casting pale blues and gentle pinks across the horizon. The manor, which has held so many stories within its walls tonight, now prepares to rest and renew. He pauses briefly, turning back to the hall one last time. The flickering candles cast long shadows on the walls, their light fragile but enduring. In these quiet moments, Edric reflects on the balance he has maintained, the harmony found amidst complexity, the peace carved from chaos. Have you ever felt the quiet triumph of seeing a long effort come to fruition? The gentle satisfaction that follows a night well spent, even as exhaustion pulls at your limbs? Tonight, in this stillness between night and day, Edric knows both. The final toast, with all its ceremony and symbolism, has sealed more than just an evening of feasting. It has woven together lives and stories, whispered promises, and silent understandings. It is a testament to endurance, to connection, and to the delicate dance of power and grace that defines this world. As the guests drift away into the cool embrace of dawn, Edric lingers for a moment longer, alone now, but deeply connected to the night's memory. His role, though often unseen, has been vital. He has been the keeper of the feast's heart, the guardian of its rhythm, and the quiet force behind its unfolding. And as the manor settles into a peaceful silence, Edric allows himself to finally rest, knowing that with the coming day will come new challenges, new plans, and the endless cycle of preparation and renewal. Tonight was a triumph, yes, but it was also a gentle surrender to the weariness that follows. And in that surrender, there is a quiet beauty all its own. The morning after the feast settles gently over the manor like a soft sigh. The heavy curtains, once drawn wide to welcome evening guests, now hang limp, their rich fabric muted in the pale light of dawn. The grand hall, which echoed with laughter and music just hours before, lies quiet and still, an empty shell, holding the lingering whispers of the night's celebrations. Edric walks slowly through the space, the worn leather soles of his shoes barely making a sound on the stone floor. His eyes take in the scattered remnants of the previous evening. Half-empty goblets tipped sideways, petals crushed beneath heavy chairs, and the faint, sticky traces of spilled wine on the tapestry-edged tables. There is a somber beauty here, a testament to life's impermanence, to moments lived fully and now past. The servants begin their work in hushed tones, their movements deliberate and unhurried. They gather cloths dampened with warm water, folding them carefully as they wipe away the traces of indulgence. The air is heavy with the mingled scents of burnt candle wax, fading incense, and the faint sweetness of honey cakes left forgotten on platters. It is a scent both comforting and melancholic, a reminder of joy and its inevitable fading. Edric pauses beside a long table, his fingers tracing the smooth surface where countless hands had reached for food and drink. He thinks of the conversations, the secrets shared beneath the glow of candlelight, and the fragile alliances quietly forged. The hall is now stripped of its grandeur, but the memory of the night lingers, like a soft echo in a vast chamber. He watches as a young page carefully collects a scattered pile of silk ribbons, their colors dulled by the passage of time and use. Nearby, an older servant folds an embroidered napkin with practiced hands, smoothing its creases with a tenderness that speaks of respect for the past and hope for the future. The cleanup is not just a task. It is a ritual of restoration, a way of honoring what has passed while preparing for what will come. Each folded cloth, each swept corner, is an act of quiet care, preserving the manor's dignity even as it bears the marks of human celebration. Edric's thoughts drift to the guests, many of whom have already departed or remain in their chambers nursing the weariness left by the night's revelry. The weight of the feast rests not only in the hall but in the hearts and minds of those who shared it. He wonders what stories they carry away, what memories will soften or sharpen with time. He steps outside briefly, where the first light of dawn stretches across the manor's stone courtyards. The gardens, watered by the cool night air, glisten with droplets that catch the sun's gentle touch. The stillness of morning holds a promise of renewal, a chance to begin anew. Inside, Edric finds a quiet corner and allows himself a moment of reflection. The triumphs of the night mingle with the small disappointments, the minor clashes, the misplaced words, the unexpected silences. Each is a thread in the tapestry of the feast, woven into a complex pattern of human connection. Have you ever looked back on a night and felt both pride and a quiet longing? The satisfaction of what was achieved tempered by the awareness of what might have been different. Edric knows this feeling well. He recalls a moment from the feast, a gentle touch between old friends reunited, a soft laugh shared despite underlying tensions, a secret glance that spoke volumes without words. These fleeting instances, small yet profound, are what he holds closest. The manor begins to stir with new life as preparations for the day ahead begin. Servants move with purpose, carrying fresh water and readying the kitchens for the next meal. The echoes of the feast fade into the rhythms of daily routine, but the imprint remains, a silent pulse beneath the manor's steady heart. Edric rises, his body tired but his spirit steady. The night has passed, and with it, the immediate demands of the banquet. Yet his role continues in the planning of future gatherings, in the tending of relationships, in the quiet stewardship of tradition. As he steps back into the hall one last time, now cleared and serene, he feels a deep sense of connection, not only to the place but to the people whose lives intertwine here. The manor is more than stone and wood. It is a living chronicle of joy, conflict, and memory. And so, with the morning light bathing the halls in gentle warmth, Edric embraces the quiet reflection that follows every celebration. The delicate balance of endings and beginnings, the promise held within every whispered memory.
In the quiet moments after the feast, when the last candle has guttered low and the manor settles into its evening stillness, Edric finds himself alone with thoughts that stretch far beyond the immediate tasks of planning and serving. The role he plays, often unseen, rarely spoken of, carries a weight that few outsiders truly understand. For Edric, the banquet is never merely a meal. It is a stage where power is performed, negotiated, and sometimes quietly wielded. He sits by the hearth, the flickering flames casting soft shadows on the walls, and lets his mind drift through the many layers of his responsibility. Each feast is a delicate balance, not just of food and wine, but of personalities, ambitions, and histories. Behind every smile shared across the table lies a web of alliances and unspoken promises. Behind every raised glass is a silent negotiation, a careful calculation. Edric's influence, though subtle, runs deep. The seating arrangements he devises do more than place guests, they shape the social landscape of the realm. By choosing who reclines beside whom, he can ease old tensions or provoke new ones. He understands the language of glances, the power of proximity. In this quiet way, he holds sway over gatherings where kings and lords measure their strength not only by swords but by whispered words. It is a power born of understanding human nature, the fears, desires, and fragile egos that animate the grand players of the court. Edric listens more than he speaks, observing the nuanced dance of social cues and hidden meanings. His role demands patience, discretion, and a keen intuition honed over countless evenings spent weaving peace from potential discord. Sometimes Edric reflects on the paradox of his position. Though surrounded by grandeur and privilege, he is neither noble nor knight. His power is not granted by birthright but earned through skill and subtlety. He is the unseen hand guiding the tides of influence, the steady presence ensuring that the night unfolds with grace rather than chaos. Have you ever considered the quiet forces that shape history? The hands behind the throne, the voices that influence kings, the unseen architects of fate? Edric is one such architect, a keeper of balance whose work ripples far beyond the glow of candlelit feasts. His legacy is written not in stone or ink but in the memories and loyalties forged within these walls. The alliance is strengthened over shared wine, the grudges softened by well-timed gestures, the whispered confidences exchanged in the shadows, all are threads in the fabric of power he helps to weave. As he tends the dying embers in the hearth, Edric contemplates the passage of time. Each feast is a moment suspended, a gathering of lives that will disperse, carrying with them stories and impressions that endure long after the tables are cleared. He understands that his influence shapes not just the evening but the future of the realm, carried forward in alliances born from these carefully crafted moments. The manor itself seems to hold its breath in the quiet night, a repository of countless gatherings and countless stories. Edric feels the weight of this history, a deep connection to those who came before and those who will follow. His work is a continuation, a thread linking past to present, tradition to transformation. In the stillness, he acknowledges the loneliness that often accompanies such responsibility. The burdens of discretion, the need for constant vigilance, the delicate art of balance all demand a solitude that few can share. Yet there is also a quiet pride, a sense of purpose found in shaping moments that matter even if the world outside never sees the hand that guides. Edric's thoughts turn to the future, the feasts yet to be planned, the challenges yet to be faced. The world beyond the manor is ever-changing, its currents swift and unpredictable. Yet within these walls, he strives to create moments of stability and grace where power can be exercised not through force but through subtlety and understanding. He reflects on the nature of power itself, not the thunderous displays of might, but the gentle currents beneath, moving silently, shaping the course of history with quiet strength. This is the power he wields, the power of presence, of insight, of careful design. As the night deepens, Edric rises and moves toward his chamber, the echoes of the evening's laughter still faint in the corridors. The manor sleeps now, but its pulse continues in the hearts and minds of those who gathered here. And in that pulse, Edric's legacy endures, not as a tale shouted from the rooftops, but as a whispered truth carried softly through the ages. Power beyond the feast lies in these quiet moments, in the spaces between words, the weight of a glance, the patience to listen, and the wisdom to guide. Edric knows this well, and in the gentle rhythm of the manor's night, he finds his place, a planner, a guardian, and a keeper of the subtle dance that shapes the fate of kings and kingdoms alike. And so, as the manor settles into the quiet embrace of night, we find ourselves gently reminded that behind every grand celebration, every whispered alliance, there are unseen hands guiding the dance, steady, patient, and wise. Edric's story is not just about feasts and power, but about the quiet strength it takes to hold balance in a world of shifting shadows. Sometimes, the greatest influence lies not in the spotlight, but in the silent moments between the music and the laughter. Thank you for joining me on this journey through a day in the life of a planner. One who weaves harmony from chaos, and whose legacy is written not in grand gestures, but in delicate, unseen acts. If this gentle tale stirred something within you, I invite you to like and subscribe, so we may continue to explore these quiet stories from the past together. There are many more moments waiting to be uncovered, stories that soothe the mind and open the heart. Before you drift away, consider this. In our own lives, power and peace often come from the small, steady efforts we make behind the scenes. Sometimes the softest voices carry the deepest wisdom, and sometimes the most profound stories are those whispered in the stillness. If you'd like to hear more tales that calm the soul and deepen our understanding of humanity, I hope you'll stay with us. Until then, rest well, and may your dreams be filled with gentle light and quiet strength. Good night, and I'll see you in the next story.